Picture this, it's 2003, you're riding in the backseat of a used Honda Civic and the aux cord doesn't exist yet. So you're stuck with radio stations playing a non-stop rotation of emotional belting, crunchy guitars, and at least one dude named Chad singing about vague existential dread. Welcome to 2000's Radio Rock, an era so iconic that we're still arguing about whether Nickelback was secretly good. Today, we'll cover the most memorable bands that ruled the airwaves, what created the 2000s rock boom, and what spectacularly ended it. Before the 2000s rock explosion, a few key events set the stage. First up is post-grunge's aftershock. When grunge faded in the late 90s, record labels scrambled to find anything with distortion and an angsty male vocalist. Enter post-grunge, bands that sounded grungy but with polished radio-friendly production. Think the moodiness of Seattle, but with fewer flannels and more leather wrist cuffs. And there's nu metal's rise. Late 90s nu metal bands such as Korn, Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park, and Deftones blended hip-hop, heavy riffs, and emotional angst, priming mainstream listeners to accept heavier music. Basically, nu metal walked so radio rock could jog slowly in cargo shorts. And there's the TRL factor. MTV still mattered. TRL gave rock bands a platform to stand next to boy bands and say, we too can have questionable hair highlights. By the early 2000s, the music industry realized there was money in guitar-driven angst, so labels went all in. Here's some of the most memorable 2000s rock bands. These bands defined the sound, mood, fashion, and MySpace profile songs of an entire generation. First up, there's Nickelback, arguably the most culturally significant punching bag of the decade. Yet they sold millions, dominated radio charts, and became the default sound of early 2000s rock. Like Gravity, you didn't have to like them, they simply existed. And there's, of course, Linkin Park, blending metal, electronic elements, rap, and emotional vulnerability. Linkin Park created one of the most recognizable sonic identities of the 2000s. Their debut album became one of the best-selling of the decade, and Chester Bennington's vocals defined an entire generation's emotional vocabulary. And of course, there's Evanescence. Amy Lee walked into the rock scene, said, let's add gothic opera to guitars, and the world said yes, absolutely. Their sound brought metal-adjacent theatricality to mainstream radio. Then there's 3 Days Grace, the kings of memorable riffs and lyrics that sounded like the world's most intense breakup therapy session. If you were mad in the 2000s, 3 Days Grace were there for you. And there's Breaking Benjamin, known for melodic heaviness and soaring choruses. They became staples of rock charts. Their music was perfect for movie trailers where everything explodes in slow motion. And there's Green Day, well, the second wave. Though they started in the 90s, American Idiot turned Green Day into the political narrators of the 2000s. Angsty, loud, wearing eyeliner with unwavering commitment. Then there's The Killers, a bridge between rock and indie. They brought synth, charisma, and existential questioning wrapped in danceable melodies. Are we human or are we dancer? The world still debates this. Now, here's why 2000s radio rock, I believe, hit so hard. First off is universal emotion. Lyrics were simple, dramatic, and direct. Everyone listening either just broke up, wanted to break up, or imagined what a breakup might feel like so they could vibe properly. And then there's the digital production that was improved. Better recording tech meant bigger, cleaner, radio-ready guitars, and vocals that sounded massive, even on tiny car speakers. And third, rock was still the dominant genre. Before streaming created microgenres, rock dominated radio formats. If you turned on a radio station, you were guaranteed guitars. Then, 4 is music videos actually mattered. MTV and VH1 were still relevant. Bands designed their look as carefully as their sound. Now here's the part you guys have been waiting for. What killed 2000s radio rock? Like all great empires, it wasn't one fatal stab, it was a combo move. First, I'd contribute to the rise of streaming and algorithm culture. Radio lost influence. Instead of labels pushing a handful of rock bands, listeners discovered hyper-specific genres. Rock lost its monopoly over the angry teenager demographic. And second, I believe shifts towards hip-hop and electronic music. By the late 2000s, hip-hop and EDM surged. They felt fresher, more modern, and rock began sounding repetitive. Many bands used similar chord structures, themes, and vocal styles. And third is the cultural aesthetic changes. Eyelinered angst gave way to neon-colored optimism, club music, and ironic detachment. Suddenly, screaming your feelings over distorted guitars wasn't the vibe. And then fourth, rock radio became stagnant. Program directors stuck with safe hits instead of evolving. When everything starts sounding like a derivative of Nickelback or Breaking Benjamin, listeners move on. And then, of course, number 5, the decline of the band as a cultural symbol. Solo artists became trendsetters. Rock bands with their 4 to 5 members became harder to market in a celebrity-driven era. 2000's radio rock was a perfect storm of post-grunge angst, nu metal influence, radio dominance, and striking aesthetics. Bands like Linkin Park, Green Day, Evanescence, My Chemical Romance, and Nickelback shaped the decade's sound. But the rise of streaming, shifts towards hip-hop and electronic music, and a cultural change in aesthetics ultimately ended the reign of radio rock. Still, its influence is everywhere, from TikTok revivals to modern bands drawing inspiration from its sounds. The eyeliner may have washed off, but the legacy stands strong. Anyways, guys, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Please leave a like and subscribe for more content just like this. Catch you guys in the next one.